This is a special Fly Fishing Founders episode where you hear behind-the-scenes stories from the companies who have the passion to go all in on fly fishing. This week, we have the Fly Fishing Insider Podcast with Greg Keenan.
Welcome to the Wet Fly Swing Fly Fishing Show, where you discover tips, tricks, and tools from the leading names in fly fishing today. We'll help you on your fly fishing journey with classic stories covering steelhead fishing, fly tying, and much more.
How's it going, everyone? Thanks for stopping by the Fly Fishing Show. In today's episode, I talk with Greg Keenan, host of the Fly Fishing Insider Podcast. We hear how Greg launched the podcast while still in nursing school and how he deals with hangry patients. We also hear about the background on what the Insider Podcast can offer you and where Greg is taking the show next. So, without further ado, here's Greg Keenan from flyfishinginsiderpodcast.com.
How's it going, Greg?
Great, Dave. How are you?
Good to have you on the show here. We've got a similar. We were just talking off air there a little bit, but we got a similar journey here with the podcast. The cool things we're bringing together today is I'm addicted to fly fishing and podcasting. So this is some people might tune out on the podcasting thing, but it's interesting to me. So I want to dig into that. But before we get started, can you talk about how you first got into fly fishing?
Yeah, absolutely. So probably looking back. Where I was up in Kamloops, British Columbia, and everyone talked about the Kamloops rainbow trout, all that sort of stuff. And like everyone, I got my float tube, started dragging a fly, kicking lots. And the lakes were pretty big in the area, so I'd be kicking and dragging flies, full sink, all that sort of stuff. And I'm like, there's got to be a different method than that. So I picked up the chronomid, started learning how to chronomid. It was a mess at first, like everyone, and haven't really looked back. Now I just sort of chronomid fish. But yeah, it's been great getting into it. Fully immersed into it. It's a big part of my life. My family's aware of that, and that's kind of where we're at. So.
And you started out, so the chronomid fish, and I'm sure Phil Rowley, who I had on in the past, is probably one of the guys, kind of leading the game out there on all the lakes and Stillwaters. But how did you take it to so just the fly fishing, and then when did the podcast all come to be?
So the podcast came in, so I was in the middle of nursing school, actually, and I'm like, I need to do a podcast. I wanted to do a podcast in fly fishing because it's my passion, and I just had to wait till I was done nursing school. So a little surprising fact was I was actually launching a podcast while studying for nursing, so I was quite busy. My family hated me. And what was it? So basically it came out, I said, I'm going to launch the day after my birthday, another fact. So March 4th of 2019, I launched, had that going, and we've been going strong for 8 months now, and it's been good. I just felt like there was a much needed voice that needed to be done on a different angle. Everyone, like all the influencers, like everyone that's in the podcast game, yourself, myself, we all have different niches. We all bring a different spin to the table and different voices. And I think that's really cool, and having that diversity. And I just wanted to, I know for myself, I wanted to focus on brands, industry iconers, trailblazers, all that sort of stuff. Some people that inspire, someone that can listen to my show at the end of my show, people that are on the fence of maybe starting a business, because if you know me and you know what I'm about, it's making the fly fishing industry grow. I want to make it grow. I want to make it bigger, better. I want to make it more inclusive, not exclusive. So, that by doing that, I wanted to inspire people by having that show and having people listen to our show and say, hey, you know what? Let's take, for instance, Brian Niska's episode. Jeff Pirouet was making fly rods in the back of his car, right? Like, how cool is that?
That's cool.
Rent this rod. These two guys are like, hey, we're going to buy this rod. They bought this rod on eBay. And they're like, we need to make money off this Winston Air that they bought or something like that. So they rented it out, and it worked. And now they have a business model. So anyone that's sort of sitting on the fence, I look at it like, hey, like, this is inspiring. You can do it.
Yeah.
So
that is cool.
Definitely.
That's, and I've on this podcast, we've talked occasionally, and obviously this podcast isn't as much focused on the fly fishing industry stuff as it is, kind of teaching people that want to learn, fly fishing tips and tricks. So we're on a different path there, but occasionally it comes up, we're talking about the monetization or just the making money. And it's the kind of a running joke where, there's no money to be made in fly fishing because it's such a small niche, but obviously there is. You just have to kind of be passionate about it. And probably, I'd imagine all the guests that you've interviewed that have those stories are just super ultra passionate. Is that kind of what you find?
100%. Every guest that I speak to is passionate about what they're doing. They're passionate about the industry. Otherwise they wouldn't be in it. They're passionate about, again, the same vision, making it grow, making it bigger, making it inclusive. Absolutely. That's the one thing I notice as well. Mm-hmm. Is these guests are extremely passionate about everything like that, for sure.
Yeah. What's the what do you think is the biggest thing you've learned if you look at I'm not sure how many episodes you're up to, but what you've learned from your guests overall?
It's funny because I always ask that question too. What's a takeaway that you've learned? And I've always asked that question. And it's funny being on this side of the microphone. I think the biggest thing that I've learned from my guests is everyone wants to see it grow. And additionally is people want to see us all kind of get along. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Keeping that equal platform. There's no, saltwater versus freshwater. These, this guy versus that guy, or this girl versus this. You know what I mean?
Right.
Everyone just wants to be inclusive. That's the biggest thing I've learned from the brands and the people that I've interviewed when I asked that question. And it's funny that's the trend in that. So yeah, for sure.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, that's it's good to hear your perspective on this. What do you think? I was looking, just as far as your, what you have going, long term. I mean, obviously you've been in this year, you're doing really well. I mean, I think when the podcast, I think you're probably leading the way and you're only been in it about a year, but you're doing really well. What do you think is the secret to your success so far?
The constant amount of hours that I put in, and the fact that it's just like you, right? I think I'm going to throw it out there, and I know for a fact I'm not making a nickel off this. I mean, I have not made a nickel. I haven't asked, on the side note, I haven't asked for a nickel either yet. So yeah. I'll throw that out there as well. But I show up and I do it and I edit it and I don't miss an episode and I don't have podcast burnout or whatever it is. Yep. Like I'm driven to do it. Do I work hard? Yeah, for sure I do. Do I get rewards from it? Yeah, for sure I do. It's just, I thoroughly enjoy what I'm doing and I do it for my listeners. And I always have my avatar or my listener in the end. What would I do for them? Like, what do they want to hear? And I reach out to my audience. Like I definitely, that's the one thing I would suggest to any podcaster that's out there. Ask your audience what they want.
Yeah.
Right. Like, who do you want? If someone's listening to this right now and you go to my website, send me an email. Hey, I want to hear Sage, or hey, I want to hear Winston, whatever. Like, tell me. I'll get a hold of them. I will bug them until they say yes. So
that was going to be one of my questions on the, choosing your guests. So who is your avatar? That person that you think about when you're creating the show?
Absolutely. So like I said earlier, the avatar is someone that's sitting around and always has curiosity of the stories and the brands, right? I mean, when I say Facebook, instantly your mind goes to Mark Zuckerberg. Apple, it goes to Bill, what is it called there?
Yeah. Apple,
right? It's just
Steve Jobs.
Yeah. Steve Jobs and then Microsoft, Bill Gates. Like your mind's driven to that. So when I say the word scientific anglers, you instantly think of the line and stuff, but they have such a cool story. Like they didn't start off making lines. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So bringing that 100-year company forward to what they're doing now, and now they're innovating lines. They make, in my opinion, they make the best lines in the world. So when you look at that, right, people that want to genuinely know that story, and again, like I said earlier, having that influence or having that person that's like, I want to make a line, or I have a taper in mind for a line that, I want to do, and I'm just unsure. I want to inspire that person to say, you know what, you can do it, because here's a company that started off, way over here making nets, and now they're making lines.
Yeah.
Or, and they're doing it well. Yeah. That's kind of
what was the episode, your episode that you did with them, or is that already out?
Well, I did a 3-part with them actually, which is really cool. So with SA, I did, I interviewed Brad Befus, the president, and then I interviewed Josh Jenkins, who is the line, like the guy behind the fly lines, man. If you want to know who's making the fly lines over at SA, it's pretty much Josh.
Okay.
With other people and
Sure.
input from the ambassadors. And then I also interviewed Landon Mayer from he's one of their ambassadors.
Right.
And he gives feedback, super knowledgeable guy, super awesome guy, super knowledgeable guy on the fly lines, on building that, making it happen, and working with it from a guest point, like from a guiding point of view, which is really cool as well, right? So, what are his clients saying when they're, getting an extra 20 feet on a cast, right?
Yeah.
By using these lines and having it properly weighted and having, because that's how technical these guys are. So for sure.
Yeah, I gotcha. Yeah. Landon Mayer, I guess this is going to be, we should get back together at a year or two and see how many of the guests we have that are similar on the shows, because I had Landon on as well. And yeah, he was a good guy. It's interesting, the gear, I'm kind of a gear junkie. I love kind of the gear, and scientific angler is one line. I mean, gosh, I don't even have right now a scientific angler. I don't think in my box. I got, a lot of Airflow, Rio. I guess it just depends on where you're at in the country too, right? Because they're a little bit more, I guess they're kind of more East Coast style. But yeah, I mean, and do they make, I think they make lines for people as well, right? I mean, I know that's been their history.
They do. Yeah. So they have that custom branding.
Right,
so
which is huge.
I'm sure there's a lot of companies out there, I don't know who, but that are, hey, we're a line company, but technically SA's making it based on their own tapers, right?
Yeah.
So whatever that's what I said. So, again, someone that's looking for, like I said earlier, someone that has that inspiration, or like, hey, if I did let's just make something up here, a triple forward taper, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to send it to SA. These are the guys that'll make it for you,
yep.
right? So, that person has that dream of making that line, that's again the inspiration. Let's push them forward. Because it's really truly about expanding our industry, right? I mean, I know when we were talking off air, the fly fishing podcast industry, it's a small niche.
Mm-hmm.
Trust me, we're not talking. What did I say earlier? We're not talking about personal growth or
right,
fitness.
Joe Rogan.
You know what I mean? Joe Rogan or fitness. Like those numbers don't exist in this industry.
No, they never
will. They're just not there, right?
Yeah.
They never will. And coming into it, you got to realize that. So.
Yeah. No, I think it's a great thing. I think we're a small little community, so that's cool. What is your episode? Do you know your most listened to or popular episode so far?
Gink and Gasoline.
Oh, it was. So that was a recent one. Yeah, that was a couple weeks ago.
Gink and Gasoline. Lewis just killed it. But he's so. I don't know if you've interviewed Lewis.
No, not yet.
You have to. I'll put you in touch.
Okay.
Lewis, he's laid up right now with eye surgery, but like he's just so awesome. And he comes across like laid back. He has his own thing, and then he's got this laugh about him, and he's just. Oh, yeah. He's just so sorry for swearing, but he's just so knowledgeable and passionate, right? Like it's just hilarious.
What is the Gink and Gasoline? I mean, they can go. I'll put a link to that episode in the show notes here. But in a short little 30 seconds or so, what's I mean, he's got the passion. What is the Gink and Gasoline story? Did he has he how did he become? Did he do the same thing?
So him and a partner started the biz, right? They took a night school learning how to write blogs. The teacher said, if you want to rank good on Google, you got to post a blog every day for 30 days. Fast forward 10 years, and they haven't missed a day.
That's great. Every day? That's right. He's done
every day they do a blog. Hosted trips. I asked him how he monetizes. He's like, he wasn't monetizing. Then he tried to figure out how to monetize. Now it's, he's got these exclusive hosted trips. By the way, if anyone's going to do a hosted trip, I know you're doing one as well. You're going to want to talk to him about that because he gets.
I love that.
The king of how to figure that out. So
I definitely am going to hit you up on that because I do have some hosted trips coming up, and I would love to check with more people. In fact, the Alaska. I think you're going up to Alaska, and I'm hopefully going up there as well. Are you guys going up in what part of the next summer?
Actually, this month.
You're going right now. So
So we're going to go in, September 15th to the 22nd. Myself, Maddie Brianaman, and her sister Mackenzie, as well as Forrest Rogers, the CEO of Rock Treads.
Yep.
We're all going up to All Alaska Outdoors. It's going to be a great time. It's in Saldatna, and from there, every day we have like a different fly out, somewhere Russian Red, Bay of Pigs. What else is there? Upper River Drifts, all these cool places, and it's all hosted by different, Talon-Air. If I'm forgetting someone, I can't remember.
Gotcha.
Brands,
so you're doing
you're
doing kind of all the species, or which species are you hitting?
Yeah, well, we're going to be hitting lake. What is it? Sorry, we're going to be hitting trout.
Yeah, rainbows.
Big rainbows. We're going to be hitting what is it, like the dollies?
Oh, right, dollies. Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll be sea run dollies, and then we're going to be hitting like in the river dollies, and then we're going to be hitting silvers.
Oh, and you're hitting the silvers. Yeah.
And there's an opportunity for char.
Right. And you're missing the you're the Chinook is earlier, and you might even, I don't know, depending on the area, I guess you've got other species.
Might be some zombies, but you know what? It's all good. By the time I get back, the Chinook will be on my rivers here in BC.
That's right. And what is your area? Where are you at right now?
Right now, I'm out of Kelowna, British Columbia. So again,
high mountain, right?
Yeah, high mountain lakes, super cool. A lot of Stillwater up here.
So you're Kamloops?
I'm an hour away from Kamloops.
Which way is Kamloops from you?
North. So I'm south. North. So even south. Hotter.
That's right. So you're not too far. Yeah, I've driven right through your. Yeah, we've a couple of the Skeena. So you're Skeena country, man. You're not too far away.
From Skeena, yeah, it's a hike, but you know what? It's a good hike.
Oh yeah. Well, for me, it's
definitely
that's awesome. Yeah. That's awesome. Okay, cool. Well, you're in the man. You're in the thick of it. I didn't really, for some reason, I was thinking Eastern Canada, but yeah, you're right in the BC range. That's awesome.
Oh yeah, that's where it's at for me. That's for sure. My brother's in the East, and he fishes out in the Sault Ste. Marie, and he tells me about his, smaller fish, but hey, everyone has to do it.
So the podcast thing, back to that here, I just wanted to, make sure not to miss anything here. What do you do? So again, you've had this podcast out pretty short time. You're, from all, looks of it, as you're super successful. Things are going well. As far as research, how do you prepare? Take us through you get a guest, maybe take us through how you get that guest. Absolutely. And then, the whole process.
So one of the things I've learned is how to, when I interact with a guest, we reach out, we talk, we have dialogue. So now I've really streamlined that whole process with, how they can book on our site going forward, especially for season 2 coming up, right? I'll send you a date. I send you a link. I use Zencastr, and it just sends out a link ahead of time, and then they book on our actual website with a code I give them in email so that they can book their own time. So while that's happening, is what I'll do is I'll research the company. So for instance, I just did Loon 2 days ago, and I just researched their company, obviously not well enough because I didn't know that some things about Loon, which are really cool, I'll tell you later.
Yeah.
But, I go into it and I research. I probably put about 4 to 6 hours of research into it. I shouldn't say on air, but I probably do a lot of this at work, at my nursing job.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
So what's your research? Is that kind of like a look back through their social profiles, blogs, things like that?
100%. Social profiles, new products, product reviews, what people are saying, anything I can get. Dirt, all that sort of stuff, right? Because you know what, people want to hear the bad too. People do want to hear it because if I do bring up some dirt, people want to hear hey, this product failed, but you learn from it and you move forward or whatever it is, right? Yeah. So stuff like that is kind of what I do for research, and then I formulate questions on that. Whoever I'm going to ask. When I work with them on the questions, I always ask, is there a new product you want me to touch base on?
Right.
Is there something that you want to mention? Or am I leaving something out? And again, final words, this is your time on my show, as you do. Hey, do you have any final thoughts before I let you go? Stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
Because it just gets that, I just don't want someone to walk away that I've interviewed going, damn, I wish I said that. So.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. I heard one of the big, Mark Maron, who's another big podcaster, and he had some huge guest on. He's interviewed Obama and everybody else, but at the end of it, it wasn't Obama, it was one of the, but he asked the guests, he said, so did I get anything new on you? Kind of basically saying, hey, you've been interviewed a zillion times. Did I do it good and get something new that you've never said before? And, and that kind of resonated with me because, think of that, man. If you pull out something really cool, some little nugget that maybe is the only time it's ever been heard about this guest, that's kind of cool, right?
Yeah, oh, for sure. And you know what? And who knows? Like, it's funny. Like, you have your idea of where you want to take the show, and I mean, you just follow where it goes, follow the questions, follow the answers, right? And you can usually dig stuff out of people, surprisingly. You know,
Yeah,
like,
you can.
think you're going this way, but if you keep asking, they'll volunteer that information up. But if you don't ask,
That's right.
you know what I mean? Like, yeah.
That's right.
So
Yeah. I think that's the people they get comfortable with you, and then they open up a little bit, which is that's probably the secret with interviewing. That's one of the secrets. What do you as far as when you think of, again, podcasters, if somebody wanted to get, and we talked about the, at IFTD, there's going to be a whole podcasting segment, but what would be one big tip you would give somebody who maybe is just a new podcaster or somebody thinking about getting going?
put in the work, right? Don't miss your episodes. Put in the work. If you think no one's listening, just keep going.
Yeah.
That's because I remember, like, again, when I first released my first couple episodes, and you're like, wow, 100 people listen to this. Should I even continue? Do you know what I mean?
Right.
But then you go back now and you look at the stats on those episodes, and those are some of the highest numbers, right? Because people, they're new. It's new. The content's always new to someone else.
Yep.
So
how
definitely put in the, yeah.
How are you getting the word out there, and how are you finding new people to listen to? Because that seems like kind of a challenge too, right? It's such a small community. How do you find, how do you grow your show?
Yeah, that is always a challenge, right? And if I am growing it, it's never fast enough. It's never fast enough for me. It's never, you know what I mean?
Right.
So, and I'm sure you're the same, right?
Yeah.
So when you look at it, it's like, how am I growing my show? A lot of it's, social. Social is huge.
Yeah.
And that's a question I ask every single brand. How does social media play a part in your business? It's so funny because everyone says without it, we'd be dead. Some brands only exist
I know.
Look at Moonshine Rods.
Yeah.
That brand only exists on social.
What's your big social? Is it Instagram?
Yeah, Instagram's my big one. I just started this thing. What's it called? Hootsuite. So now I'm kind of getting more to the LinkedIn and the Facebook. My Facebook I don't even use it. I mean,
yeah. LinkedIn would be good for you because you're kind of a business to business. Are you? I mean, do you serve? If somebody's out there and maybe they're listening to this right now and they're not a business, they're a consumer and they just listen because they're interested. I mean, how do you serve those people at all?
Oh, 100%, right? Everyone wants to know the story. Everyone wants to know, like, like there's a reason why people are so in love with a brand. Like, if you weren't in love with that brand, you wouldn't be following them. Let's take Scientific Anglers. When they have 80,000 followers, why do they have 80,000 followers? Right? Because people like the brand and the product.
Yeah.
So I'll bring you the story behind the brand and the product that you like so much. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
So, Sage Rods. Why do we follow Sage Rods? Well, if you didn't like them, you wouldn't follow. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like I want to bring that story out. So yeah, that's not, I don't want to say the common person. That's the listener. That's my target. Like, getting that information you would not otherwise know. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's awesome. How do you deal with, part of this, you're a public figure, that's part of the thing you get out there. I mean, how do you deal with negative feedback? I'm sure I'm not sure if you've received much of that, but it seems,
yeah. Of course I do. You know what I do? I thank them for listening to the show.
Yeah.
I say, hey, thanks for listening. Thanks for I always ask people too. I'm like, I'm open to feedback. Again, like, you got to remember, I'm in a career of nursing as well. So I get yelled at all the time. I get, you know what I mean? So it really bounces off.
Who yells at you in nursing?
Well, our patients do.
Oh,
I'm in pain.
Oh God. Right.
People are miserable. Like, who wants to be in a hospital?
Damn.
Right? No one wants to. When can I go home? Oh, you have an operation coming up, and I'm like, sorry, you can't eat for 12 hours.
Oh,
so now they're hangry. Right.
Yeah, they're
so
hangry.
Exactly. So you get that. So in podcasting, you get that. I mean, I get that. People,
you're used to it.
They yell at you, they say stuff, and I always say, I am willing to take podcasting tips from you. So if you can point me in the direction of where your podcast is, please, and half the time it shuts it down, right? Because they don't have one.
No, they're there are and there are the trolls out there too, and that sort of stuff. I totally forgot about that. The nursing thing. I mean, you have a thick skin. Are you in the sector where you're actually, deaf and seeing people and that? Is that part of the thing you're
actually in? Yeah. So I'm trained on like the ventilation unit. So you know the people that are on the life support breathing machine.
Oh yeah.
That's where I'm at. So
Wow.
a lot of times that yell at me the most now, since I've taken that job, is family.
Oh wow.
Right? Why is my loved one not doing this? Why, you know what I mean? Like, can't you do more? Give them more drugs. They're in pain. I'm like, so
Damn.
it's just, yeah, that's where you're at, and you're trying to rationalize with someone that is so emotional.
Yep.
And such an emotional time in their life as well, right? That it makes it's hard to rationalize with someone like that.
That seems, to me, it seems crazy. I always think of jobs like that, being a police officer, even going to war, I mean, it just seems like such a thing that's not even a reality to me. I mean, what is that? I mean, can you just explain how you even deal with that on a daily basis?
When you're young in the career, you used to bring it home with you, but now you just chuck it out and leave it at the door. So I up there, we have systems, we have protocols in place, how to deal with it. You're just, you have to stay firm. I mean, it's your license on the line. If, when someone's asking you politely to speed up a loved one's death, I just tell them, I just don't do that. You know what I mean? And I just don't do that. And it's the sad stories like that. Again, but it makes you thick, you get a thick skin, you get going on it. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So how do you, let me ask you, Dave, how do you deal with, I know we're turning around, feedback? But how do you, there's got to be, I'm always open to
same thing. Yeah. I mean, I think that, there are some out there that I don't reply to. I think, I've got some other things going on from past, kind of some online stuff, and occasionally, I'll see stuff there, and sometimes I don't respond at all if it looks like it's just a troll. But for the most part, I mean, I just like you, I thank them. I say, man, I really appreciate your feedback. This is awesome. And just start a little dialogue. And a lot of times, they'll come back and say, oh yeah, I was a little bit too, harsh and stuff like that. And one of the guys, this is a good example I had, on the podcast reviews. I don't know what I'm at. I'm probably close to 100 reviews now, actually written reviews. And one of them was, I think it might have been a 2-star. I can't remember, but the guy basically said, he wasn't into it at all, he liked the show. He said some positive stuff, but he said some negative stuff. And I reached out to him and found him, and he was actually one of the head sports writers for ESPN. And we had a little chat, and he just gave me a bunch of great feedback, about, and this was early on. And so I got all this great feedback from this guy who's obviously a pro. He works for ESPN.
Yeah.
And so that's it right there. I mean, that's what I do. I just listen. I mean, I always try to listen.
That's, you know what? Hey, remember you actually asked me what's the one piece of advice? Yeah. Listen to your guests.
Exactly.
Don't jump in. Don't jump in as much as you want to. Yes, that's, and it's hard to do.
It is.
Right?
I know. Just as we're talking here, because you're saying stuff that's awesome, and that I'm already thinking like, okay, it's hard to, you'd want to be like, and then also all the ums and uhs and that stuff is the stuff that you're like, you can't, the editing, there's another piece, right? We could go on this forever, but, we're going to cut this because I know you got to get going here in a bit. So I just want to touch on a couple things before we wrap out of here. And, one of them I've been having a lot of fun with this on music. If you have a favorite band or type of music you listen to.
It's funny, surprising fact here. Let's see. I think I like some classic, like some hair bands.
Yeah, like,
and I'm like a Bob Seger guy.
Oh, Bob Seger, yeah, Bob Seger, the Silver Bullet Band.
Yeah. There's got some. When you look at his greatest hits, like sometimes I pop that in there when I go for those long drives somewhere. And,
there you go.
It's just like singing to the steering wheel, right? So
nice. All right, I'll throw in some Bob Seger in the background. I throw in a YouTube video down the bottom in the blog post, so you can, while you're listening to this, you can listen to Bob Seger in the background.
I love it. I like the little touches everyone has to make things unique, right? So
yeah, totally. What's your? I think you might have mentioned this, but just on the podcast? What's your audio? What's your mic setup and all that stuff?
Oh, what is it? The ART?
Oh yeah,
20 or 40. Yeah, that's my mic.
Exactly.
The way my guest does it, I just basically they talk through their laptop or through their cell phone now.
Yeah.
How I do it as well. So, and I use Zencastr.
Oh, and Zencastr.
So,
Okay. Perfect.
yeah.
Perfect. All right. And next 6 to 12 months, what anything new coming out for you we can expect?
Tons of stuff. So where are we at? So I just launched a YouTube channel. Building content up on that. So we'll be doing stuff like where I'm speaking with reps about products. We'll be doing 2 minutes on the water with Greg, which is like highlights of products, which will lead you to the blog where you can get the full review on a product, or a brand or a guide or a service, whatever it is. What else am I up to? We got our weekly newsletters going out now. So that just kicked into effect 2 weeks ago. I think it was beginning of August or second week of August. So that's going out now to all our subscribers. Again, with the newsletters, there's tons of stuff in there, industry insider stuff that people always want to know. New products, especially right now. It's like our new product season coming out with all the brands, and then there's discount codes if people have offered. Like if other brands have reached out and said, "Hey, I want to give 20% off to the audience," I'm going to start putting those in there so people can find. We have a whole new program. I don't want to get into it, but a whole program going on with the Guides Day Friday kind of thing. How I'm going to revolutionize that here, if it takes place, definitely for season 2, and actually coming up in the new season now, we're going to be doing some kind of a sponsorship for the podcast as well. So if any. But it's a super specific sponsorship. That's all the details for the sponsorship is on our website at flyfishinginsiderpodcast.com. Absolutely. Okay. You'll find it on the sponsorship page of how the system works. Yep. And then they would have to email me and I could send them our sponsor sheet for sure if they're interested in something like that.
Gotcha.
What else is new? Trips. Taking trips, doing that. So
yeah, you're doing Alaska. I think we talked about there.
Yeah,
so
Alaska. Yeah, and then it's Alaska, Colorado, and then after that there might be something going on. Maybe we might be doing something either Mexico or Belize as well with someone. So we'll see if that materializes. Don't want to say too much as well. And yeah, I mean, other than that, that's more than enough because I do work.
Yeah,
so.
That's right. Are you planning on working? For continue the nursing, or eventually would you love to see where maybe this fly fishing thing becomes a full-time deal?
I'd like to see the nursing drop down by so if I work 4 12-hour shifts, I'd like to work 3 12-hour shifts in a week, and then the podcasting. I'd like to do that, but I'd rather. What I hear? Let me take that back. I would rather continue with my nursing, but have like an intern or two to build the podcasting up. It's the little things like we talked about, the editing, the research, this, that, right? Having a little team of fly fishing insiders that we can all, gather content and do this and just build the brand further. Cause it's right now, I started off with someone, but their podcast went incredibly successful and they've taken off. So, but yeah, I mean, having a team to initiate and facilitate a lot of this would really help. And I'm sure you're in the same too, right? These grand ideas, but it's just one man band.
Time is the limiting factor for everybody. So yeah, we're all on the planet for the same. Well, not the same amount, but. Yeah, well, all right, Greg. Well, I'm going to let you get out of here. So flyfishinginsiderpodcast.com is the best place.
Definitely. Yes, it is. And our Instagram handle is at Fly Fishing Insider Podcast. You can find everything there. All our info, our blogs, our email newsletters, or everything is on Fly Fishing Insider Podcast.
All right, perfect. I'll send people that way. And just want to thank you for coming on and having a little chat here, and also the resource. Definitely, I've been listening to your podcast. When it first came out, I remember I was like, oh, this is perfect. This is a perfect podcast for me. And you're getting a ton of traction, so I'm excited to see where this goes. And hopefully, we'll grab a drink at IFTD this year and then catch up on things.
Definitely, the first one's on me. So,
all right, man. We'll see you then, and see you in Denver.
All right, thanks, Dave.
Right, see you. Bye.
Okay, bye.
So there you go. If you want to find all the show notes with all the links we covered, just go to wetflyswing.com/insider. And if you want to support the show, head over to wetflyswing.com/members to find out how to get some bonus content and support the show at one convenient location. Thanks again for stopping by to check out the show today. I'm looking forward to catching up with you soon and maybe see you online or on the river.
Thanks for listening to the Wet Fly Swing Fly Fishing Show. For notes and links from this episode, visit wetflyswing.com. And if you found this episode helpful, please subscribe and leave a review on iTunes.